down by people. And, some of us don't have to go through that, but many of us do. And I was a kid when I was young. I was bullied and went to 4 elementary schools, 1 junior high, 4 high schools, and I lost friends faster than I made them, that's for sure. I was a bit reclusive and became a bit of a loner. And I had to dodge the bullet in terms of getting jumped and beat up and picked on because I went to a predominantly gangbanger Hispanic school, and I remember seeing all my friends get jumped, and I was able to kind of surpass that and get around that, and I think it was due to music. Music kind of saved my life. But the point of that song is, I turn on the news occasionally and I see, that, suicide is no joke and something that we hear about more and more. People that, are struggling because they've been abused or picked on or bullied or what have you, and they want to take their own lives. Mm-hmm. And that is an anthem to people who are beaten down to rise above and say, look, I'm not your suicide. I'm not going to be your suicide because you've picked on me, you've done this, you've said this about me, you beat me up, whatever it is, you've abused me, you haven't taken my life. And my life is going to amount to something that is special, and that's the anthem for those people, and for myself, for all of us.
Well, and you're absolutely correct, and I love that you explained it that way, because there's, like you said, there's so many people, kids, adults that bullied, but even on social media, I was even in the last probably 5 years since I was really kind of used the social media to see people expressing suicidal thoughts or depression, and before, those people would not even tell anybody. So it's amazing to see how social media has brought that to the society as a whole, to like, oh wow, I didn't realize was depressed enough to even talk about that openly. But now you're giving somebody a song that can empower them to say, you're not worth killing myself over. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's a small. I mean, on a grand scale, it's a small way of helping. Hopefully, I mean, if it was Lady Gaga or Katy Perry or someone like that, it would obviously help on a much larger scale. But you know what? I'm doing my part. I'm trying, and it does matter to me. It breaks my heart when I hear about things like that. And having experienced it to a degree, I was never suicidal, thank God. But, I can understand why some people are. And, social media, as good as it is, it's equally as bad, if not even more so, because it's an open forum for anyone hiding behind a computer to go and do and say whatever they want.
Yeah, it's easier to bully. Yeah.
Not only that, but you can. It's so easy to put something out there, and it becomes quote unquote the Bible when it actually is not the truth.
Yes.
Right. It's
exactly. True. Exactly. And I'm just trying to make a difference, and that's why that song is very important to me. And that's the title track as well. It makes a very bold statement, and it kind of makes people go, "What? What? I'm not your suicide. What does that mean?" And that's the whole point, to make them turn their heads around and say, "What does it mean?"
So what made you want to write your autobiography? You're only 50 years old. You're still a young pup. So why now?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you. I've had a lot of people ask that question too, and everybody's writing autobiographies. I mean, everyone, and that's fine. Everyone has that right. The reason why I chose now to do it is because I've been through a lot in that 50-year period. I feel like I've lived the life of a 100-year-old. And I've had a lot of ups and downs. From bankruptcy to losing my wife to cancer, and remarrying and losing friends because of that. And there's just been so many things that I've faced over my lifetime, and I just wanted to talk about them, and for two reasons. It was therapeutic for me and healing for me, number one, and number two, I hope that it's therapeutic and healing for others reading it that may be going through the same thing.
And from looking at because I haven't read the book yet, and I can't wait to read it, but looking at some of the stuff that you've talked about in the book, it looks like a great read, because it talks about who you influenced and who influenced you, and it talks about a lot of the things behind the scenes of Stryper. And what is this was on my mind, and I'm sure you've had this question a million times. Being in rock, and like I said, you were really one of the first rock bands in Christian music. What was it like when you first came out as a Christian rocker? When it came to the Christian community and when it came to not just secular community,
the rock community.
Well, you know, I think because of the shock from the community, it kind of threw us off a little bit, because we just continued doing what we did for years, but glory to God.
Right.
You know, so it was really no different for us. But to see the shock and the look on, like when we played the GMA Dove Awards for the first time in '85. If you could have been there, it was really kind of funny, because there was the look of horror on people's faces in the crowd. I mean, their eyes were wide open, their mouths were wide open, and it was pretty funny. A few people got us, and a few of those people were Sandy Patty, Pat Boone. They came up to us and hugged us and said, "We love you guys. We think it's awesome." But most people there just didn't get it. So, you know, it was a new day, and we were right there on the front lines, and I tell you, it was incredible. It really was incredible.
Did you feel like you were caught between the two worlds and really didn't belong to either? Or did you feel like you belonged to both, but nobody saw you?
You still do, you say?
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I still do. And the reason why we still do, is because a lot of people still don't know how to receive us, or how to take us, or how to accept us, or what to think of us from mainstream.
That's very...
You know, we hear it's a Christian. I mean, you name it.
But this is what I mean. Like, sometimes it's like, if the music's good and you're enjoying the music and you're enjoying what is being said, why does it matter how it's being said?
You know, it's just, I think it's the nature of man. You have to fit into a club, or you're not cool.
Right.
It's like,
true.
you know,
it's just the way it is, you know, and we don't fit into any club.
See, it's weird, because like, I'm a classical music composer, but I can sit there and listen to Britney Spears. Who cares? It's music. If I enjoy it, I enjoy it. It doesn't matter where it's coming from.
Exactly. And, you know, I wish all people thought that way, because it doesn't matter. But unfortunately, living in this world, it does matter. And, you know, when I was in high school, you had your groups. You had the prep group, and you had the jock group, and, you know,
the goths.
I didn't fit in then.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one thing, and Maribel, that Michael and his brother are part of the band Stryper. How was that being in a group, and still being in a group with your brother?
It's you know, to be completely honest, it's quite a challenge at times. Although I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I love my brother. We really work well together. There's a certain chemistry that he and I have together that you can only find in brothers or sisters or siblings. And but at the same time, he's often enough the first guy that I want to take outside and put boxing gloves on with.
Right. Who's the oldest? You or him?
He's the oldest.
That's why.
He's the oldest. And, you know, he
thinks he knows everything, right?
Everyone thinks I'm the oldest, and I haven't figured that one out yet, but it's okay. Everyone thinks I'm the oldest.
That's like me and my brother. I'm the oldest, and he's the youngest out of the three, and everyone thinks he's the oldest, and I'm the youngest.
I'm the baby too, but yeah, and I'm the prettiest too.
I'm guessing it's because we're more mature that they think we're the oldest, or at least I'd like to believe that.
That's right. Yes, that's it, Michael. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was one of the things that you shared in the book that was the most difficult for you to write and put on paper?
Oh gosh, there were so many different things on so many different levels. It was very difficult for me to talk about, you know, my mom and my brother. You know, as much as I love them, you know, more than anyone on the planet. You know, I get into the logistics of the band and the financial details of the band back when they were kind of running it. And, you know, we all wound up eventually filing bankruptcy and losing everything. And, you know, there's a lot of would have, could have, should have, you know, and learning from your mistakes. You know, it was difficult talking about, my wife being sick, and the effect that it had on me and my kids and my family, and there's so much. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that was hard. The trickiest part about writing this book is I wanted to live up to the title. It's called Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And be brutally honest, but at the same time, I didn't want it to be just another autobiography where I was trashing everybody
right.
and throwing them under the bus.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to be done in love and turn it around back to not only was I equally to blame, but God is a sovereign God and a healing God, and through all, He can reverse the situation. And that's really what I wanted the book to be about, was a message. And it is, I think.
And I think that's one thing I always hold dear to my heart. If something's true, even if it's true about myself, if somebody has something to tell me, I don't ever take it personal. You can always tell when somebody's telling you the honest truth and just something when they try to be hurtful. And so, for me, I find that I admire you for that, because I remember, and I'm not going to go deep into your controversy with Nikki Sixx, but I know, like you said, there's a lot of people out there that do try to, pump it up or butter it up and try to, add things to their autobiographies or whatever to sell books.
To make it sellable, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about what you've done is put this together, because you truthfully just want people to know about who you are and about the journey that you've been on, and if it inspires people, there you go.
Absolutely. And, the Nikki Sixx thing, that kind of got somewhat, taken out of context, because I was just trying to say that don't believe everything you hear. And I guess that's kind of a jab at myself,
Right.
Because I just wrote a book, but the point I was making is, I've read a lot of autobiographies, and, when you read stories about some guy that was on heroin or drugged up or drunk or whatever, and he's giving you explicit details of that story, I find it personally, my opinion, hard to believe every little detail, because how could you?
Right.
I can't remember stuff, and I wasn't drugged up.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the point I was trying to make. But no disrespect to Nikki or anything, and it just the press kind of turned it into something that it wasn't.
Well, you know how press like to do, right?
Well, yeah.
Unfortunately,
exactly.
Yes.
Are there things in the book where your fans who followed your career will find, I guess, not shocking,
not shocking or hard to believe, or maybe think a little second thought about being a fan of Michael Sweet?
Well, maybe not that, but sometimes when you idolize someone, right, or a group or this, that, and the other.
What's the old saying is whoever, when you say you never want to meet your idol.
Right, because then you realize, oh my God, hold on, that's just another person who has the same trials and tribulations in their life as I do.
Right.
Absolutely, and I start the book with I drink, I smoke.
Right.
Am I a chain smoker or an alcoholic? No, but I do like to enjoy an occasional cigar, and I love to enjoy an occasional glass of wine or a beer. And is that going to shock people? Yeah, probably. Should it? No.
I don't think so either, because I was saying earlier before you came on, I said, listen, my uncle was a preacher. He could cuss like a sailor, but yet he was a great man. I mean, he was a very caring man. It's doesn't make you less of a man or less of a godly person.
But this is why I think, though, sometimes, sorry if this is offensive, but sometimes I think America is closer.
Well's not from here, by the way.
No, I'm not. I'm from Georgia. No. Sometimes
go ahead and just say it. Be honest.
Just say it.
Religion is just a faith between you and your higher power. It should have no.
Yes.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't be a community-based thing, and it shouldn't be a fear-based thing, and it shouldn't be if you're religious, then you can't do this, that, or the other, because you're still a human being. So. Anyway. Sorry.
I love you, man. I love your attitude, and I couldn't agree more. And, but unfortunately, people make it about that. And I think what happens a lot of times, and, maybe you guys would disagree with me on this or not, but this is what I believe. I believe that 9 times out of 10, the people that point the finger and say, oh, my God, you drink, you're not a Christian. You can't be a real Christian. They're probably taking issue because they have issues with drinking.
Exactly.
They're recovering alcoholics, and it's their issue, and they want to make it yours. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, or it might not be the same issue. They might be deflecting to take things away from themselves.
I'll give you an example. And my sister and I love my sister. But she went through a phase, 15 years ago where she was in drugs. I won't tell you which sister, but she was in drugs and stuff. She got in trouble. She's also a singer, and so her community service was to join a church, and not join a church but sing at church. That was what she did. And then what happened is she took an addiction for an addiction. She became addicted to religion, and then she became the biggest judger and judge towards people. But now after 15 years, now she's not like that, because she was, like you said, she was feeling the guilt of what she did in looking at other people, and probably in her own heart was like, I wish they would stop her, but it was coming out very judgmental. And I think I agree with what you're saying, Michael.
Yeah,
I think it's all about, I've learned a lot over my 50 years on this planet, and the one thing that I have learned that's very important to me is the fact that I'd rather have someone be who they really are with their imperfections,
absolutely,
than someone who is a facade and saying praise the Lord, but then behind closed doors they're doing something else. I'd rather have the real deal.
Amen, sweet Jesus.
Give me that.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Or, rather than and also those who will go to church on Sunday and therefore they're absolved, but then the rest of the week they're complete and utter.
Yeah.
It's like, just be a good person.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And that's when
with your fault, it doesn't matter. We all have faults.
We
all
have faults. Well, when you wrote this book, what was the most before we, because I know you got to get home to your wife because she's not feeling well. But what was one of those kind of like set myself free, because the truth shall set you free. So what was more the set you free from writing this book?
Well, I talked about a couple of different things, and of course, I spoke to my son first before I went public with this. But my wife got pregnant, and then we eloped, and nobody knew that, with our firstborn, Michael Jr. And that was kind of a set me free moment. And then also, I talk about the Against the Law period, when a lot of people were questioning what was going on behind closed doors, and I come clean about girls and booze and, all the stuff that was going on during that period. Is it as bad? Some people might read it and think, oh, that's not so bad. And maybe it's not. But, the fact that I never really talked about it was bad enough for me. And I just wanted to just let people know, okay, here's what happened. Because there's so many rumors floating around out there. And I was able to do that in the book. So it was just, as I said earlier, it was very therapeutic and healing for me.
Good for you.
That's
good for you. Like I said, I'm proud of that. That you've done this, because it takes a big step to write your story. It's easy to write somebody else's story and to even write a song and tell clips of your story, but when you write a book like this, that you're telling your story, and it takes courage to do that. It really does.
It does. And I tell you, I'm very grateful for the book and the fact that it's finally here in a reality. And I appreciate you guys, telling other people about it. And again, I just hope that it touches somebody and that they get something out of it. Maybe somebody's struggling with the same problems or situations that I've gone through. Maybe it'll help them.
Yeah, and just remember, it doesn't, like you were saying earlier, like if it was Lady Gaga or Katy Perry, but at the end of the day, if you help one person, you've helped 100. So it doesn't really matter.
It's true.
Absolutely. Case. And, a good example of that very quickly is I meet time and time again pastors, men that are, or women that are pastors now that were drug addicts. And we helped that one person 25 years ago, and they're now pastoring thousands of people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, everybody deserves those chances. And sometimes people just need that hand, and sometimes just because we go and offer the hand, they're not ready to take it until it's and speaking of that, because we want to make sure we promote this too. You're a big supporter of the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline. Could you talk a little bit about that before we go?
Yeah, well, the song "I'm Not Your Suicide," the title track, I hooked up with an organization called Child Help, and they've been around for quite a long time, helping children, abused children, and that means children that might be abused by their mother, their father, their brother, their sister, or bullied, or what have you, and they're just there to protect and fight for the children. And I hooked up with them. They're a part of this video. At the end of the video, there's information given where you can call. Anybody that needs help, they can call the number, and Child Help is there. And it's just, I'm really proud to be a part of that, very proud of it. And they're very excited to be a part of what I'm doing as well, so it's mutual.
Great, fantastic.
Well, you can go to Michael, I think it's just michaelsweet.com, is that right? Yeah, michaelsweet.com.
Michaelsweet.com. And you know what an odd name that is, Sweet, isn't it?
I know. I just don't know how you live with it.
Oh, here we go.
Right. You know what, Michael, here's what I did recently, and I find it very fascinating. I'm a huge history buff, especially when I do my family history. I took that Ancestry.com DNA testing. You should take it to see if we're cousins, because it's really.
Are we related?
I probably we are, because I've not really done the research. The sweet side for my family, like the last my great grandfather were from Kentucky.
The blood test, is that the one that shows what your ancestry is?
It's not the blood test. This is a spit test. Tony ain't gonna give no damn blood. I'll tell you.
And it tells you.
It breaks it down until I'm 33% Irish and 26% Scandinavian. It breaks you down that way. But on Ancestry.com,
wow,
yeah, it'll actually link you to people that match your DNA, so it'll tell you your cousin. So I think you should take it.
That's incredible.
So I think you should take it so we can say, "Hey, cuz, what's up?"
Oh man, dude, that would be incredible. And then I'd have the right to stop by the studio anytime.
Anytime. I won't be here, but no, I'm just kidding.
So will it tell me? It'll tell me if I'm related to Cleopatra or something.
Yeah,
it's from the same area of the world as me. Why not?
That's like these people that always come back and say, they said, "Oh my God,
I'm Lebanese.
The psychic told me that I was Cleopatra in my past life." And there's like 5 million people that say that. And I'm like, how can that many people? So
actually, they have every woman on this earth is traced back to one woman who is now known as
Irene. I know her. Irene.
Mitochondrial.
I was like Eve from Adam and Eve.
No, it's Eve. They call her Eve, but I mean she has a mother, so it's not Adam
Michael's
and Eve.
Like, I gotta go.
Anyway,
all right, Michael, thank you so much, and make sure you go out and purchase this. You want to buy the album, "I'm Not Your Suicide," and you want to buy the book, "Honestly, My Life," and Stryper Revealed. Make sure. Now, where can we buy that? Like Amazon, bookstores, record stores. Where can we buy that?
Yeah, Amazon, iTunes, iBooks, michaelsweet.com, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart, Best Buy, wherever you can buy books and music, hopefully.
And last thing, speedy recovery to your wife.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully she'll
Hey, guys,
better.
Thank you so much.
You're
you
welcome.
guys were awesome. I really enjoyed the time, and thank you so much for having me on.
Of
Thank
course,
you for
and come
coming
back
on.
anytime,
Yes.
my friend.
All right, you guys, take care. God bless.
All right,
God bless.
God
Later,
bless.
cuz. Bye.
Take care. All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and this is actually the song, "I'm Not Your Suicide." It's actually a really good song. I was listening to it earlier, and if you like rock music, here you go.
with On Air with Tony Sweet, only on Universal Broadcasting Network.
Okay, we're back, everybody.
I'm sleepy.
You just listened to a rock song and you said you're sleepy?
No, I'm jet lagged.
Oh, okay. We are back. This is On Air with Tony Sweet. I'm Tony Sweet, and look what? It's Well Benali's here. Hi, Well.
Hello. It's 1 a.m. in London, so...
You're still out partying by then. No.
Partying? No.
Actually, I just got word that today, next Wednesday, we may have to do a pre-record, so more like a interview pre-record, so hopefully you can be there. I remember playing a song a couple weeks ago. Glynis Grace is going to be on our show. Glynis is an amazing singer from the Netherlands. John Williams introduced me to her, and this girl... Oh, my God. She can sing. I actually might play one of her songs so you guys can hear it. But she's going to be on the show. She's probably the closest to anybody that I've ever heard sing I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. That sounds almost like Whitney Houston.
Right. No. I heard it.
No, did you hear? Did you watch it on the? Wasn't she amazing?
Yeah, fantastic.
So, and so she's going to be on, I believe, next week. So I'm
She's blonde, right?
Well, she's
so.
mixed. I think she's mixed white black, but she has blonde hair.
Blonde hair is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, she's bleached it. Oh, you should bleach your hair.
It is bleached. That's why you can hardly see it.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, I actually did that one time. I actually bleached my hair. It was like almost like platinum. It was terrible.
Oh, when I tried it, went red.
Did it really?
Yeah.
But I walked into a club and people were like, "Are you bald?" I'm like, "No, why?" Because it was just, it was so bleak. Well, I was gonna before we have about 7 minutes before our next guest, and Maribel, why don't you talk a little bit about the Michael Sams before we go to our next guest?
Sure. So Michael Sam is the first openly gay player drafted to the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
and during the draft, he kissed his boyfriend